Hello, Nakama. We will start with the fundamentals of C programming. So, this part in my playlist um, has many small parts. So, this small part is about configuration and test. So I'll explain how to install the C compiler. So the C compiler is to test our different C programs. So before to start, I have to explain the difference about compiled language and interpreted language. Interpreted language, yes. So I have already explained this difference in one of my videos. I can check quickly. It is in French, but you can have the subtitle. It is in playlist programming tools. This playlist programming tools is this video compiler and interpreter. So you can look this video. It's important to understand before to start. I show this video because I don't have this picture. I didn't have I, I I don't have, I still don't have this picture. So interpreter works like that. You have the high level source file. This is your code. Interpreter just take this code and transform directly and in an executable file. Directly you have the output. You don't have an intermediate file before to have your output, and you don't have a executable file. Okay. Instead you have the compiler. The compiler here permits you to have a intermediate code file. We call it machine code file, but it's not exactly that. I explain more, but it's not exactly that. And the executor execute your executable file. Here is a executable file, but there is a intermediate file we call object file. I omit to explain it, so I can do a simple graph. If you have your code file here, so you can call it main.c, and then you have your compiler there. Okay, and then let me, the code file pass through the your compiler. The compiler gives you an object file. So you have the linker. The next step is the linker. You can after the compilation operation, you have here a object file or object files. If you have several code file, yeah, source code, you call it source code file. Okay, you can have many files. So after the compilation, you have your object file or your object files. Object files, the name is main.o. Okay, you can rename like you want, but if you keep the same name, it's the main.o. Okay, and then you have at the outputs the executable file. This file is it contains just the 0 and 1, so the matching machine code file. It is a machine code file. You can have main.exe, for example, but on Linux you have just the name of the file is just main like that, without extension. Or you can have .out. The default file on Linux, you can have a.out, or by default you can have a file name like that. So that is a compilation chain. You have the compiler who compile your source code file, and then you have the object file. You link it to see well the how the linkage works. You can go to my another video. I have another video, the linker. You can see it is in French too, but you can have the subtitle. Yeah, subtitle in English. Okay, you can see directly when you have many source code files, C code files, and you pass in the compiler, you have the object file, and then all those object files pass through the linker, and you have the executable file at the output. And then the linker, the role of the linker is to obtain, to get all the library utilities, okay, that your project needs, like mathematics library or input output library, and everything, object file and library use pass through the linker. So that is how it works. You have to look those two videos to understand well what I try to explain. So it's the basic knowledge you have to understand before to start the code. And then what is the terminal? The terminal is a utility, okay. You permit you to do a command. So let's show you. A command is every operation you do in your computer. When you do a copy operation, like if I open my file explorer, I can have this file, for example, alex.docx, and do a copy. So right click. Everything I do, like operation like this, is a graphic operation, okay. I click copy, or I can use the keyboard shortcut Control C and paste in another folder. Right click, paste. That is a operation with graphical layout, graphical utilities. But if I use the command line, that is how we use the computer before we have the window and the mouse and all graphical useful tools. If I want to copy for example this file, everything.txt, I have to position myself to document folder, okay. I use the command cg, change directory, cg, to change, I go to document, okay. If I go to document, I can copy my file, everything. I use copy, cp is the command, and the name of my file, everything.txt, okay. And the path of the destination, Python. The destination, that is the source, and the destination is this this part. This part is the home, my main part. Okay, so I can just put I I can just put dot. Okay, I can put home and my name, Bushido. That is my main part. Okay, for my user account. You can see now this file here. It was not here. I can remove it by use the graphical utilities by move to trash, delete here, or I can remove by command line, which remove. The command is rm remove, and the name of the file. Okay, I have to change the directory to the main part. And then now I can remove the file, everything that you see it's gone. Okay, that's the difference between graphical using and command line using. It's important to understand it because you have to use it every time, because I'm going to explain you how to code a operating system. So in your operating system, the compilation, you can compile with command line to have a specific result. So we will see it. We see it to the next videos. So that is the basics to know. And now, how to install the compiler. We have several compilers available. The difference, let me check. A difference compiler for C programming. We have many compiler. Okay, the generation of my AI in Google. We have GCC, GNU compiler collection. It is for C, C++. Okay, on most Linux system and is highly portable, supporting UI. That is the famous that is the most used compiler. CLang is coming at second, and you can use the compiler you want, but GCC is better because you can use it on many architecture, on different architecture, on Linux, Windows, Mac OS without problem. And then we will install GCC. So to install GCC, you have two ways. So you can download the GCC. You can download the GCC file and install GCC for Linux. I'm on Linux now, so I will explain the same thing on Windows before after that. Download GCC. You go to the official's website. Okay, you can go to Git and download. Go to Git. Okay, and clone the project, and this is the most difficult way to install. You can install directly on Linux by command line. The command line is sudo apt install GCC. That's all, but it's already installed in my computer. Okay, it says it's already installed, the newest version, 320. When it is installed, you can check the version with the command gcc dash dash version, and you see that's my version 13.3.0. Okay, and then I explained the same thing for Windows, but I finished the explanation of my to-do list. It's done for installation, and then how to compile. Okay, if I wanted to code in Python, I will have installed Python interpreter, because it's normal. If I wanted to code in, okay, this line is not important. If I wanted to code in any language, I install either the interpreter or the compiler. So install check the text editor you have. So now to code, you have to have a simple text editor like where I am. So I can open a new tab and code and create my code. stdio.h. You see the syntax, the color syntax is up here because this this text notes permits you to code in many languages, many programming languages. If I go to okay, if I save, I want to show you the different languages. Okay, document type. If I click on document type, I can see different programming languages: C, C Sharp, C++. That is for check the syntax. Okay, if I choose the C++ syntax and I code in C, there will be a many syntax error because I have chose a specific syntax does not check with my code. Okay, so remember that your text code is just to code. It's not to test or everything else. So that is an example of code in my text editor. You can do the same thing in Windows with I think it's not notebook. I don't remember. With the simple text editor without transformation of text like in Microsoft Word, just a simple text editor like that. Or you can use a IDE. I've already talked about in my first playlist. That is because you have to listen. You have to watch all videos in my playlist. Programming tools. Okay, my playlist. All video in this. In this playlist, programming tools. So go to check my channel and see all those videos. It's important. It is in French, but you can use the subtitle. So now we have you actually install and have my text editor to code. I can code also in my terminal because there is a text editor inside the terminal. We call it Nano, and the name of the file you want to code. I call it main.c. Okay, that is the text editor GNU Nano, and I put my code there and save, and I can compile after finish the code. Okay, to explain the basic structure of a C program, let's do a simple program. Okay, hello world. Hello world is a sort of tradition when you start coding in the new programming language to be able to display a simple message. Here in occurrence, it is a hello world. This is just to check that compiler interpreter of my language works. So it is extremely short. It does nothing, just printing a message. Uh, so so test I can show you an example of code. It's the same thing I've already typed in the text editor. Into main, the main function, and then the close up. Never forget opening and closing curly braces, and then to to display a message, you use printf, and then the message hello world. That's the basic code you have to do when you start with a new programming language. So I save it and excite, and I can use now my compiler GCC. The command is GCC, and the name of the file main.c, and you can precise the name of the output file with the arguments dash o, and the name of the file I want. So if I don't precise, the output will be this a.out. That is my file. Okay, let me create a new folder. Make directory C. I call it C underscore test, and then I go to C underscore test, and then I can copy my file main.c and paste to C, and then I go back. Okay, that's my file. I can go back and remove before the executable file and return to my C test, and then I recompile okay, ls is for lists all the file inside this folder, inside this part. If I put ls, I just have my main.c. I can print the contents with cat. The command is cat and the name of the file to see just the content. The content is that's my code, and then compile with GCC. I list again. I can see my source code and my executable file. So GCC compile your code and link directly. So that's why I directly have the executable file. So we can specify to GCC to generate the object file before to link it by GCC again to get the executable file. So that is the okay. You have this part this way. You have your source code. Okay, you have your source code, and then you have the compiler. Here is the GCC. Okay, if you compile without precise, you want to get the object file, it take just your source code file and directly give you the executable file. Okay, that is why we we will use this GCC. But when you code for operating system, we will have to get a specific result. So some many times we will have to take the object file. Okay, so if you want to have the object file, you precise in the GCC command, and then it gave you the object file. So it gives you the object file. Okay, it gives you the object file, and then okay, let me create another diagram. I can copy it. Yeah. Okay, you have a source code file GCC, and then you can precise you want to obtain just the object file. Okay, when you have your object file, you can pass by a linker. GCC has a linker integrated inside its own functionality. That is why you can have this way. But you can precise to have just the object file, and then to pass to the linker. Okay, you can have a famous linker, LD. Okay, we will talk about in another playlist. It's not the object of the value here. And then pass to the linker LD, and then obtain your executable file. Okay, so with GCC you can do just a compilation directly to have the executable file, or precise you want the object file and pass by a linker. So you can do in another way. You can okay, you can also link with GCC again here. Okay, that is the different way. So you can compile directly to get the executable file. You can hold the object file and then compile yourself, and then link yourself to get the executable, and then you can also compile with GCC and linked always with GCC. So let's look how it works. I go to my C test. Okay. Okay, let's execute my file. To execute a file, you just do the command / to precise execute the file inside my QN folder. Okay, that's why you put / and the name of the file a.out is executable. Okay, you can see my message hello words printed in my screen. So now I can recompile my file and precise the output name by exe, and then you can see the exact file without extension. In Linux, you are not obligated to put the extension. The extension is out or nothing. In Windows, you will have a .exe for an executable file. You will see this. You will see that. So now I can execute my executable file. I have the same result. So now I remove a.out and exe file. Okay, I just have my file, my source code file. I can try this this way. Okay, this second way. This is to precise you want the object file, you have to put -c -c, okay, the name of your file. If I, okay, you see the main.o file, object file. So this main.o file is in fact it's a intermediate it's a intermediate code. It looks like assembly code. I can use the command objdump to see the content of my file, because if I try to open main.o, I try to open main.o with sample text editor. It is my C test. If I try to open it, I cannot open it like that. Okay, except for object code. I can precise a specific app, view all app. I can open it with my text editor, or I can use an, okay, let me open it directly in text editor. Okay, here's my object file opening by my text editor. You cannot understand nothing because it's encoded in ELF form. It's not in text, in TXT form. That is why you cannot open it in a text editor, or even in Word, or even you cannot read like that. You have to use a specific tools to see in assembly form. Let me close it. If you type this command objdump, okay, let me open a new terminal. I can go to my folder. Okay, the command is objdump with the argument d -d put for the argument to see it in assembly form. Okay, and then my file may not go. The command objdump permits you to see it in pseudo, yeah, it's in assembly code form. Okay, is a, okay, the main role of this file is to organize your code in the memory. Before to have your executable file, the object file organize your code by saying your computer, okay, put this part of code from this memory and this memory, to organize where your code in the memory and avoid to have a big empty part of memory before to go to the next part of the code. Okay, we will see it deeply in the next videos. It's not important now. And then I can't link my object file. If you remember, the next step is to link. You can link by the LG or GCC again, but we will link with GCC because there is specific playlist for LG, just for LG. I will explain LG and the specific playlist for GCC too. But like we record in C, we have the obligation to use GCC. But I have a specific playlist for GCC and specific for LG. So for now, just for explanation, I will link by GCC. Okay, GCC, just the name of the object file, and okay. There will be the occasion to use this way to compile, but every time we will use this form. Okay, to make it easy to understand. When you arrive to the higher level, we use this form. to explain some knowledge, some important knowledge about C programming. So that's all, and now um, I would like to talk about IGE. IGE, Integrated Development Environment. I have already talked about it too much on my playlist. IGE. If you go on my playlist programming tool, you will see IGE. Okay, the video IGE I explained. And then IGE permits you to have a text editor and compiler and linker directly in one application. I use VS Code, but you can use another IGE. There are specific IGE for each language. Like to C programming, I think I've already tapped this research. Which IGE to code in C? We have code block. Okay, it's specifically used for C language. You have dev C++. Okay, you can code here in C or C++. It's just your code. We will see the difference between C and C++. Okay, there is a specific playlist for C++. Okay, and object-oriented programming. Professional development. Okay, in the professional development, you have Microsoft Visual Studio. Microsoft Visual Studio is different to Visual Studio Code that I use here. Okay, the logo is different. The logo is the same logo, but the logo is purple. I think violet. It's a color of this color, purple. It's a different IGE. It's a very powerful IGE. You can code not just in C but in many different language. Celeron, I don't know Celeron. Eclipse, I know Eclipse is powerful too. Okay, Eclipse is C, Visual Studio. Okay, Visual Studio Code. That is the IGE I use. You can use the IGE you want, but it's better to use the same than me to follow exactly the same way I take. I like it because you can manage your file more precisely than another IGE. In the another IGE, you have certain file you cannot modify easily. So that is the advantage of VS Code. And then that's all for now. I will explain how to install and test on Windows before to close. So see you to my Windows. Okay, now I'm on my Windows system. So I recommend you to use Dev C++, because you cannot download GCC directly by command line here. You have to download the GCC file and check for configuration to how install it, to how configure it in your PC. So you can do it if you want. There are many videos on YouTube to explain how to configure to use GCC like command line, but it's not an obligation for the moment. Okay, so where the moment to use the command line comes, I recommend you to install Linux, and I do a small playlist to explain how to use Linux. It's not really different than Windows system. So because at the certain level we just use command line. So for now, for the basics about C programming, you can use Dev C++. So I've already you can go to this website, SourceForge. just tap. You cannot just search for dev dash C++ and go to the first link, the sourceforge.net, and before you found that here, you download here, you click download and the download start, and then that is I've always downloaded it. That is it. You start the installation. Start the installation started. English, okay, I agree, next, install. It's the easiest way to use a C compiler with the editor, with everything. It is easy for code in C or C++. So on Windows, it is the easiest way to avoid some configuration, some difficult configuration. So you click next, okay, and then you can open a new source file or create a new project, a new file. I can save directly. Okay, save as. I can save in document folder. Link.c. It already exists. I've already created, but yes, to replace. And then I can create my simple code like STD on the page. And the main function. It's not important to understand now how it works. It's just you just have to test it, check if it works. Okay, it's not important. But the simple overview is that is the library will permit you to do input and output operation. You have to do some include like that. We call it preprocessor operation to call the function already exists in C, like this is an output operation printf, so it's important. And then you declare the main function. The main function contains the code in C language itself. Okay, everything inside between the opening braces and closing bracket. It's your code itself. Okay, and then I forgot the return zero. Return zero is just to return zero to the system. We will talk about in the future. And you go to execute on, yes, compile, and then when it's running you have your hello world. Okay, it's easy to install this dev C++ than VS Code because they are too much configuration to do if you want to install GCC yourself. But you can do if you want, but I recommend you to do like that. And see you for the next video, and that's all for this video.
Comme au Beaux-Arts, loyal, poli, droit et sincère, je respecte le code du Bushido. Mais si on met les armes à terre, c'est pour te faire une prise d'aïkido. Et la concurrence au cimetière, ne pensez pas mourir aussitôt. Mon katana taille leurs artères et broie leurs organes génitaux. Quand j'étais gauche, j'en ai pris des coups, j'en ai dans le ventre.